Imagine boarding a flight, excited for your journey, only to feel the weight of every stare, every whisper, every judgment. That's exactly what happened to Marcus, a black teenager traveling alone for the first time. From the moment he stepped onto the plane, the icy looks and dismissive tone from a flight attendant made it clear he wasn't welcome. Passengers around him seemed uneasy, as if his very presence was a problem. But Marcus stayed quiet, determined to rise above the uncomfortable tension. Then things took an unexpected turn. A small misunderstanding with his seat sparked a confrontation, and the flight crew's reaction left Marcus humiliated. What they didn't realize, though, was who Marcus really was, and when the airline found out, everything changed. What happened next not only shocked the crew, but left the entire flight with an unforgettable lesson. Stay tuned for this powerful story of courage and redemption. Marcus wasn't just another teenager traveling alone. He was someone with a story far bigger than anyone on that flight could imagine. But to the passengers and crew, he was just a young black boy sitting quietly by the window, trying to mind his own business. The tension in the air grew heavier when Marcus politely asked for help after realizing his assigned seat had been double-booked. Instead of assistance, he was met with irritation. The flight attendant's tone was sharp, her words carrying an edge that made nearby passengers glance over but say nothing. Marcus felt his cheeks flush, but he kept calm, refusing to let the moment break him. He could sense the whispers around him growing louder, the stares burning into him. No one seemed to care about how he was being treated, or why. What they didn't know, however, was that Marcus's identity would soon make this flight unforgettable. As Marcus sat there, the unease around him only grew. The flight attendant returned, this time with an exaggerated sigh, loudly offering a curt explanation that didn't solve the issue. Marcus tried to explain calmly, but she cut him off, suggesting he move to the back, while glaring at him like he was causing trouble. A few passengers exchanged glances, their faces a mix of discomfort and indifference, but no one said a word. Marcus swallowed the lump in his throat and quietly complied, taking the seat she pointed to, even though it wasn't where he was supposed to be. From his new spot, Marcus noticed a family nearby watching the scene unfold. The father leaned over to whisper something, and the mother shook her head, as if deciding not to get involved. Marcus stared out the window, trying to push down the growing feeling of isolation. Little did they all know, this moment was about to turn into something far bigger than anyone expected. As the flight continued, the tension lingered in the air. Marcus sat quietly, trying to distract himself, but the whispers behind him were impossible to ignore. He caught bits and pieces, words like troublemaker and attitude. The flight attendant seemed to avoid his section altogether, glancing his way only when absolutely necessary. Marcus stayed composed, but inside, the weight of it all began to feel unbearable. Why do they see him this way? He hadn't done anything wrong. Then, something unexpected happened. A well-dressed man a few rows up stood and approached the flight crew. He seemed calm but firm, asking why Marcus had been moved from his seat. His voice carried enough authority to turn heads. The flight attendant looked uncomfortable, stammering out an excuse that didn't hold up under the man's questions. Marcus watched, unsure of what was happening. As the energy on the plane shifted, people started paying attention now, but no one was prepared for what came next. The man's presence seemed to rattle the flight crew. The flight attendant's dismissive tone softened as she explained her version of events, but the man wasn't buying it. "It doesn't add up," he said firmly, glancing toward Marcus. "I think you owe that young man an explanation and an apology." His words carried a weight that made everyone within earshot listen. Marcus, still unsure of who the man was or why he was defending him, felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, someone finally saw him for who he was. But before the conversation could go any further, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom, summoning the man to the front of the plane. Whispers spread like wildfire as he walked calmly to the cockpit. Who was this man, and why was he being called forward? Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was happening, and whatever it was it was about to change everything. As the man disappeared into the cockpit, the tension on the plane grew unbearable. Passengers whispered theories, some glancing at Marcus with a mix of curiosity and unease. Marcus sat frozen, trying to piece together what was happening. A few moments later, the man returned, but this time the captain followed behind him. The captain, a middle-aged woman with a commanding presence, walked straight to Marcus. The plane fell silent. "Mr. Wright," she began, her voice steady, "on behalf of this airline, I owe you an apology. What happened here today was unacceptable." Marcus's heart raced. How did she know his last name? Before he could ask, the man who had defended him stepped forward, extending a hand. "I'm Robert Wallace," he said, his tone warm. "I represent your family's foundation. The airline had no idea you were the son of one of their major investors." The revelation hit like a shockwave. Passengers who had been silently judging Marcus moments ago now looked embarrassed, some even offering awkward smiles. The flight attendant turned pale, fumbling through an apology. But Marcus didn't need their pity. "I just wanted to be treated like everyone else," he said quietly. His words hung in the air, leaving a lasting impression on everyone around him. As the plane landed, Marcus knew this experience wasn't just about him. It was a reminder of the biases people carry and the power of standing up for what's right. After the incident, the passenger bravely stood up and reported the flight attendant's behavior to the airline. The airline took immediate action, launching an investigation into the matter. Thanks to the passenger's courage and the support of fellow travelers who witnessed the event, the airline publicly apologized and assured that appropriate measures were being taken to prevent such behavior in the future. The flight attendant involved was disciplined, and the company implemented new anti-discrimination training for its staff. This incident serves as a reminder of the importance of standing up against injustice, no matter where it occurs. It's crucial that we all remain vigilant, speak out against racism, and support those who are affected by it. Discrimination has no place in society, especially in places where we should feel safe and respected, like on a flight. Together, we can work towards a more inclusive and fair world for everyone, no matter their race or background.